Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, Urban Times family? My name's Kerry Dixby. You're here with Urban Times today. Joined by my lovely co-host, Miss Tawanda Blake, aka Miss
Spicy.
There you go. Well, we welcome you once again for joining us on our show. We definitely want to introduce to you a very, very powerful woman of God. It's incredible to the work that she's doing right now here in the community. Sometimes we forget that we're truly blessed and we are very fortunate in things that we have at home. There are others that are not so fortunate. So we definitely want to introduce to you Miss JUANETTA Covington.
Thank you.
How are you, sis?
I am wonderful. And
It is so
yourself?
good to see you.
You
Definitely
as well.
doing good,
You
doing
as
good,
well.
definitely. We had to have you on the show. And the reason why is because of what we talked about many times as far as how there are so many individuals that are in need right
Yes.
now, and there's so many different avenues that they are in need of. And with what you're doing right now, it speaks volumes, especially with crisis assisted ministry.
Exactly.
I definitely want to let the public know and want you to tell the public as well, how did you become a part of that organization? It's a powerful organization.
Well, I was in a position and a place in my life where I needed assistance myself after I had my second child. And so I went to the agency to seek assistance for some rent. I was assisted, and I said, Lord, if you allow me to work in a place like this, I will give back 100-fold.
Okay.
You know, knowing how to treat people in time of need, that is a big impart that I have in persons.
Okay.
So it's just amazing to me seeing these people daily that are in need. You know, your unemployment benefits have exhausted the
Right.
extensions. So what do? Your back is against a wall. You know, I interview clients face to face, and also through their social workers, they send actual referrals. So I have to look at that piece of documentation as there is a human being attached to the end of that.
Right.
And we cannot forget where we've come from.
Right.
You know, I understand the hardship. I understand all of that. I know it from both sides of the fence.
Right.
So having said that, that's how I got started there. And I've been there for 12 years now, and I love what I do.
Oh, okay. And it's interesting that you mentioned that because, again, a lot of times people don't understand that we're one paycheck away
Yes.
from. And, you know, I've known you for quite some time as well. And I remember, you know, basically being back in, you know, back in the neighborhood, how many kids actually came to school and they were without.
Yes.
And you never knew.
And I was one of those children.
Exactly.
And no one knew.
And nobody knew.
No
So
one knew.
it's very important that you have those type of resources that are there for individuals that are going through so much.
And here again, with me, knowing it from both sides of the fence,
Right.
being without, knowing the lights are off and this is taking place and what we're going to do. For a child to register that, that's traumatic for a child. So that child is not focused on school. They're wondering, when I get home, am I going to be able to do my homework? Because the lights are off. What is mommy doing? And then this is the time when these teachers sometimes, you know, because you don't know what's really going on,
Right.
when they label the kids as having ADHD because they can't focus. And they're in their mind, they're trying to register, how am I going to do this?
Right.
How is this going to happen? My mama has to do this. And then see, so many kids are bombarded with so much that's going on outside of schoolwork. And my thing is that my main focus and goal is to make it as easy as possible for that child to stay focused on school. Let me try to do the best that I can do to help you and your family so you can succeed in school.
There you go. There you go. That's saying a lot. That is saying a lot. Oh, I'm sorry. You go ahead.
Now, you're an advocate for domestic violence.
Yes.
So how did you get involved with that?
Well, my situation with domestic violence took place 20 years ago, but you never forget something traumatic. And I can relate to the tears of the ladies, and I've interviewed some men as well that are victims of domestic violence. I can relate to them from every aspect of that word. You know, when you've been stripped, when your dignity is gone, your self-worth, you start questioning that. You question where God is in your situation, how you gonna come out, what am I going to do about the kids? How you juggle so much, and at some point you drop in all that you're juggling. So I'm that person that they see, and I let them know I've been there.
Right.
I understand your tears. I understand what you're going through, and I'm here to help you so you can move into a safe environment for you, and if you have children as well.
Now, when you say you have men, like, what is that number? I mean, because you don't hear that often.
You don't hear that often, but the ones that I've seen, it's shattered. Their ego is shattered. Their manhood has been stripped from them because they are fleeing a domestic violence relationship, when in actuality it's more, it should be, well, not should be, the women are the ones that are the abuser, the victims, and the men are normally the abusers. So when the tables are turned, you deal from a different perspective, because you're dealing with a man, you know, and this is a man that's a provider. He's supposed to be head of the household. So how can he allow this woman to beat him? But if you're taught not to hit women, sometimes that woman can be the aggressor.
Right. Now, do you see that more in marriages or just, you know, cohabitant relationships?
I see it both, because now you're facing, here again, the benefits have exhausted. No monies are coming in.
Right.
How are you going to support us? You're supposed to be the man. What's going on? Why can't you find a job? We can't do daycare. We don't have a car. So they're juggling so much. And this is another reason why the divorce rate is so high now, because of the financial piece and you know, the emotional part that's in that. And they're coming out fussing and fighting, you allowing the kids to see it. So it's a bigger picture than what we can see. If you haven't been on the other side of that door, you really wouldn't understand it.
Right. Now, and then the trafficking.
The human trafficking?
Yes.
Yes. I'm an advocate for that as well, because I'm also an advocate for sexual assault. So domestic violence and sexual assault go hand in hand. And when I started dealing with the domestic violence, sexual assault kept coming up in the conversation. And I knew that I had to get a piece of that to see exactly what's going on. So they go hand in hand. Then here you come with the human trafficking. So you have a girl that may have been beaten, maybe sexually assaulted. Her self-esteem is so low, she's getting pimped out, to be honest, you know. And they're using these girls, they're starting at age 11 up. So it's just amazing to me, and it's disheartening.
So when you say human trafficking, that is another terminology for prostitution.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
With a pimp.
Yes.
And
yes.
that, you know, with that's staggering that we are the #1 state, because you just don't know.
We're the hub. And I went to a training a year or two ago when they brought this out to the forefront. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. Lo and behold, the other night on TV, they said it again. We are the actual hub for these predators because of where we're located, with the access to the highways. We're close to Atlanta, close to Florida, close to New York, close to Maryland. So this is really like the piece where they come and really get a lot of the women, the young ladies.
And just take them.
Just take them. And after, when they get them at that young age of 10 and a half to 11, after the age of 16, they deem them as being worthless. So this is why a lot of girls are just missing. You find them coming up dead at that age because they're no good to them at that point.
Wow, and I just think that it's child molestation #1.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
you know,
even we lead in the state with pornography, child pornography. You know, and I'm an advocate for that because children are our future. And we have to be their voice. We have to stand in a gap for these kids and let them know that they are loved and they matter. And there are avenues that you can take other than this.
right. I mean, you just want to know, like, do you do counseling for adults? Like, as far as you help the women, you help the children, but have you had adults that come to you and say, I have this sickness, I have this illness, is there something that you can do to help me? And
you get that a lot with the domestic violence and sexual assault because they're dealing with this in the back of their mind. And once a person allows you in, you're in. And when they feel comfortable, the walls are down, then of course they're going to say, well, can you do this? I tell them I'm not certified in counseling. I do have a BA in sociology with a concentration in psychology and the extensive training for domestic violence and sexual assault and human trafficking. But if they need someone to talk to, sometimes all you need to do is keep your mouth shut and listen. And then if they need to go elsewhere, then of course we can direct them to their health department for mental health. You know, it's a lot of avenues to take.
Now you mentioned as far as being a part of this and how it's near and dear to your heart because you yourself was actually
A survivor.
as well. If a young woman was to come in and she felt as though or knew as though that she was going through these things, what direction would you take her in order for her to get out of that situation the way you did?
What I would inform her is to first make sure that she has a safety plan.
Right.
I'm going to find out if she's safe. When they call me and want to talk, my first question to them is this a safe number? You have to make sure that they are safe,
Right.
because you don't know what that abuser is. He can be alongside of her. You know, he can be right behind her. You never know. He can be stalking her. So that's the first piece, to make sure that they are safe, and this is a safe number to speak with you on. Now, having said that, we go into the detail. I'm asking them what took place. You know, they don't need to give me a lot.
Right.
And I want to know if they've called the police, if they have their 50B in motion, which is their protective order. And we'll move on from that point. And then when they're trying to get reestablished into their home or to a new location, then I'm asking, have you paid a deposit? Have you been approved? What do you need help with?
Right.
So at that point, I'm thinking the amount of monies that I'm going to use to help her. You know, so she's going to have to get her lights back on.
Right.
She's going to have to get water connected. If she has gas, that's going to have to be connected. You know, it's a lot of things that fall into place. Some of these women leave with nothing but what they have on.
Right. And even if they were kids, even if
Yes,
they have
but-
children as well, that's even affecting
Exactly.
them. So that the children are leaving with clothes on their backs,
Exactly.
and then being affected the next day if they got to go to school.
And it's traumatic. It's so traumatic to experience that. I remember even being in the courtroom with my abuser, and that was, like I said, 20 years ago. But I still remember it to this day, and the fear that was in me, because he was right beside me, even though the bailiff was near him, but he was beside me, and you had the little aisle, and then it was me here. But I'm thinking in my mind, he's gonna come over here and hit me again. So you can just imagine, you know, and you tell these women to sometimes go here, get that, do you have that? Some of them don't have that.
Right.
Because he has taken it from them. With that, he still has control of her, her IDs, her socials, because you know it's hard to get an ID if you don't have an ID. You got to wait a while to get your Social Security card. And it's a power and control issue. And once that control is gone, that's the likelihood of a woman being killed. Because he feels, okay, I'm going to do it because I've lost control. And that's why you have a lot of situations where the man would kill the children before he killed the wife. So she can suffer that bit more before he kills her and then kills himself. You know?
How many situations have you seen where it's turned bad that you couldn't help, and how did that make you feel when you've given all that you had?
The cases that I've dealt with, I have always been able to assist. And now if a situation arrives where I'm not, then I can route them to other avenues. So between Women's Commission, Safe Alliance, Victim Assistance, NOVA, you know, things of these natures, they can get a pot of money from here, get another pot here, and then get some from us maybe. And then we can help them escape that abusive relationship.
If they want to.
Yes.
And,
And that's the thing, you have to want it. Nobody can want it for you.
right. How often do you see that they go back after you've assisted them?
It's maybe 4 or 5 times. But I let them know each time that they come back, you know, have you went through with the case plan? Have you did this? Because a lot of these women, self-esteem is low.
Right.
This may be the only man she's been with, and she feel obligated to stay there. He may be supporting her and the family financially. You know, she may not have an education, he may have. So it's that piece of control. And once he sees that she's stepping out to maybe get her GED, to start working, then that's when the abusive start.
Right.
Now, you mentioned when we were talking earlier as well how there's different almost levels that occur during
Yes.
an abusive relationship. Could you
Yes,
reflect
you
on
have,
that?
it's called the power and control wheel. You have the tension building stage.
Okay.
This is the argument. This
Right.
is little nitpicking. You're not doing this, you're not doing this. It's not enough ice cubes in this glass of water. So that piece, don't wear this, don't wear that. Why you coming home late? That piece. Then you have the piece where it's escalating. And that piece is when the physical piece starts, the abuse starts. And then you have the honeymoon stage. And this is the piece, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
But you know it's going to happen again. The least little thing. You don't know what's going to trigger it, but you know it's getting ready to happen. You know? So that's what is the power and control wheel.
Now, have you ever had to move anyone out of state?
Yes, but with that piece, the Women's Commission assists on that end. So we work hand in hand together to help save lives. So if there's a need for a person to relocate to maybe New York, or they're relocating from New York here, then of course we're trying to assist them. You know, we can some funds we have, we can pay the U-Haul fees, we can pay the storage fees and things of that nature, because we know money is really limited and they may not have a dime to leave.
And how many years have you been in this line of works?
Well, I've been working with Crisis Assistance Ministry for 12 years. I've been doing the domestic violence part maybe 6 years. And, you know, here again, the sexual assault just falls into play because they go hand in hand. And then here comes the human trafficking. And I also deal with the communities and schools, the McKinney-Vento kids. These are the children that are deemed to be homeless. And there's close to 5,000 children in Mecklenburg County alone. And these are not your high school kids. Your high school kids are the ones that won't tell because they're too embarrassed. But you have your elementary and your middle school kids. You know, there's a record being kept of that. But when you get to a certain age, it's not.
Right, and then so when you said that the elementary children, is this with or without their parents?
It's with you, because now they're looking at homelessness as even if you're living in a hotel. That's not technically considered your home. So you're basically homeless. I've interviewed clients that have literally slept in their cars. You know, I've smelled the stench of someone whose water has been off for days and they didn't know to come to get help. And when you embrace that person, regardless of the stench on their body, and let them know I understand, that piece of humility, that piece that I can give them to let them know that they're still a human being and they matter, that is the gratification that I get at the end of the day.
Right. And then do you get a lot of out-of-county people that come to Charlotte looking for help?
You get a lot of calls. You get a lot of calls because some of the smaller counties, they don't have that access like we do, but we can route them to other places that may be able to assist them.
And you know, and it's funny you say that because like me, I've used crisis assistance before because just because I work doesn't mean that I can afford these bills that's coming in.
Absolutely.
You know, that's what a job is, just over broke.
Yeah.
And you know, that was a strange thing that my sister used to say, even in Gaston County, that they refused to help her.
Because she was employed.
Well, she wasn't employed, but it's just because she wasn't employed, they would not assist her. So, and I said, well, can you, I think there was the time I asked her about Charlotte. She couldn't come here because she was out of county. So, you know.
So because there was no income coming in, they weren't able to assist her.
Even, my sister just passed away in March.
Sorry to hear
I
that.
just received, not me, but I checked the mailbox and it was yet another letter saying, we cannot assist you. You know, and I said, well, gosh, if she would have been alive, this would have just pushed her right over the edge. You know, so when you see that, do you think that Charlotte has that bigger stability to pay the bills versus the outside counties?
I do, because some of the funding that we have, they really want it to be workable. But if you're out of work this week, and maybe 2 or 3 weeks down the line, you're going to get a job, and it's workable moving forward, then we can assist. We have to have something to work with, and because when they give the funds, they're allocated. You have to meet this criteria, this has to be here, and this has to be there. But it's a way around everything. You know? If you know that this client has stable work history, and you know that he or she is willing to go out there and find a job, they're doing what they need to do. It may not be what they want, you know, for that moment, but at least they're trying. Then of course you want to revisit that case. Of course you want to do that.
And that's so, I mean, it's just, it's a common thing, you know, every county doesn't function the same. So I definitely was curious in retrospect to Mecklenburg County and the others, you know, even with the crisis as far as our economy, you know, because it's just
it's
terrible.
It's sad.
Right.
It's sad.
But then you still will in Mecklenburg County say, hey, I mean, we're going to help you. We're going to give you these resources, but we need you to do X, Y, and Z.
Exactly.
So, you know, that's totally different.
Yeah, so you're following through with that case plan. And then you come back to, that client comes back to you and say, okay, this is done. Okay, then we have something to work with. Because what you don't want to do is set someone up to fail. You don't want to pay the rent for this month. How are you going to do it next month? You know, you just prolonging them getting padlocked. And that's what you don't want to do.
Right.
Because those monies can be placed towards your new place.
Right.
You know, I know it's uncomfortable and no one wants to go to the shelter, but once you're at the shelter, 2 weeks, you're assigned a caseworker.
Right.
So that caseworker is following through with you to make sure you do your job, your job placement, you looking for your apartment. So they're kind of hand in hand with you. And that too is another thing that I like.
That they have the caseworkers.
Yes.
Now, I haven't utilized crisis, thankfully, in a long time. But you know, what are some of the things that they offer now versus, because it's been years since when I came? Do you offer that job surge, or what is it that you offer? Do you work closely with social service?
Actually, what we do, we get a lot of funds from DSS. And here again, those funds are allocated. You know, there's the red tape, you got to have this and have that in place before you utilize our funds.
Right.
Having said that, we have like a help sheet. And on this help sheet, there are a list of numbers. I call it the important piece of a document that anyone can have, is that piece with all these numbers on here. And they have numbers to Charlotte Area Fund, places where they can help you find employment. Work on your GED. You have the Urban League. You have this organization. That is so many places out there that are willing to help you.
Right.
But you just have to know where to go.
Right.
And some people don't know where to go because they haven't been told.
Right.
You know, and even when you're interviewing a client, you say, have you tried this place? Have you tried this place? And they're like, I didn't know anything about it. And then you pull out your drawer the resources that they need in order, you know, to go ahead and move forward to find a job or to get that GED.
So is it important for individuals to know that basically with crisis, the best thing for them to do is not sit stagnant, but definitely come to you and ask those questions? Because I mean, and is there any type of limitation, like say an individual, say if it's a young lady who you know, who's just became pregnant, and she's, you know, she's trying to get on her feet, you know, and she's trying to make some things happen. She want to do better for herself, but she may not know. Or say even that young man who may have been thrown out of his last place. What would you advise them to do?
First, they initially need to call to save them a trip.
Right.
You know, because the lines are so long now.
Right.
You don't want them to come there and stand in the line and then be turned around, turned away. If you call 371-3000 and press option 0, the operator will answer all your questions. Because if you're trying to get rental assistance, you're going to have to get an appointment. But if you're missing time from work or you have a job interview and you come down there and stand in that line, you've missed that time to go and do what you actually needed to do when you could have, you know, called to say, okay, I need some information. What can I do? What are my options? And then at that point, you just try to pick what time is good for me. If I have 2 interviews one day, maybe Wednesday I can come, you know, but you know to be there no later than 7:45 because we open doors at 8 o'clock. And like I said, the volume of clients that we're seeing daily is increasing.
It's a line wrapped around the building. And then you do the furniture.
Yes, we do the furniture bay. And actually that's where I'm stationed at, so I love that here. So it's to me, it's so rewarding to have a client come in, you know, that you've assisted financially get into their place. And then you helping them also find furniture because people are leaving with nothing. And you're basically starting over. You know, so I understand when a lady says, the only thing I have are flip-flops. I understand all that. You know, and like I said, I've been homeless as well. You know, so I can, I know exactly what she is experiencing, what she's saying. Yes.
You give out refrigerators.
Yes.
New refrigerators.
And we just gave out almost 400 air conditioners, and I love that because you think about the elderly and disabled that were in their homes, sleeping with the doors open or the windows up because they didn't have AC. So to me, to be able to do that, where a person that's up in age can just sit at home and feel safe. And knowing that you played a part in that is just amazing to me.
Without the bunk beds, because you know, when my sister passed, there was a transitional period where my nephews, I have 8 children now, and we needed beds and quick, and I had to quick. And I had to come to crisis and get beds, and they were new. So and a long time ago the things weren't new, but the fact that you're able to get that now, it's just like, okay, it's not the bottom of the barrel. You know, this is high quality stuff. I don't feel like I've done something wrong or I should be embarrassed, you know, because I had to utilize your services, because you give the better grade of things just like anybody else would.
And you want to allow that person to maintain their dignity. You know, we're there to stand in a gap for these clients.
Right.
We're their voices. You know, who wants to take something home that's soiled? You wouldn't want to put it in your house, so why would you want to give that to someone else?
The dynamics of that has changed tremendously.
Exactly, and you know the outbreak with the bed bugs. So now they're steam cleaning the mattresses and things of that nature. So it's just an amazing tool. It's an amazing piece. And you know, we also have the clothing ministry. So you can go there and shop for clothes, and
the food
we have
bank.
household products and things of that nature.
It has grown tremendously. And I definitely was curious about, you know, the funding aspect of it, you know, county to county, because that's just major, because it's a crisis everywhere, not just here. And I feel like if that's your goal to help, it shouldn't be limited. I know that North Carolina, it's still North Carolina.
Exactly. And you know, here again, I'll just say, it's to me, it's overwhelming. And days I do go home in tears because I think about.
All right, go ahead. That's all right.
A child not having lights, may not have food to eat, and you think, oh my God, we are so fortunate, and we take so much for granted. And to me, it's as though, what are we really doing? We're doing a disservice if we don't try to help these people. And that's my piece. We do a disservice when we don't take the time to just listen sometimes. You know, I interviewed a client and she called me back, she said, I was going to commit suicide. If you hadn't talked to me the way that you did, if you didn't treat me the way that you did, you made me feel like I mattered. And just, when you think about all these other persons that's going through, and when they go home, what do they have? You know, we're that avenue of hope. And like I said, we have to stand in a gap for these people. These are our brothers and sisters. We're only one paycheck away. And I tell them, just because I'm on the opposite side of this desk, doesn't mean I haven't experienced what you've experienced. I've walked that same walk that you're walking. So I understand and I can relate. And then that's when you see the tears fall. I mean, even from men. They cry like a baby because they hold everything in. They are the breadwinners. You're the head of that household. You feel like a failure, but you're not a failure. You know, we all experience hardship, and we all are going to need somebody's help at some point of our lives, regardless of your financial status, the house that you live in, the car that you drive. At some point, you're going to need somebody.
Definitely. And with that said, sis, who do they need to contact? What numbers? What website do they need if they're needing help right now?
They can visit our website at crisisassistanceministry.org. You know, and if some persons have questions regarding domestic violence or sexual assault, or even questions with human trafficking, my email address is JUANETTA64@gmail.com.
Okay.
So they're more than welcome to shoot me an email, you know, or inbox me on Facebook. So I'm still getting used to this technology stuff. So I'm kind of old school. But those pieces, if they're interested in that, you know, or have questions regarding that, then of course they can reach out to me. But yeah, they can visit crisisassistanceministry.org.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you for
you so
joining
much.
us today. It's definitely truly an honor and a blessing to have you on.
Thank you so much.
Fam, thank y'all for joining us. And again, if you have any questions or concerns, definitely check us out. Get more information as far as how you can be helped. This is Kerry Digsby, Tawana Blake. We're Times Today. We'll see y'all soon.